What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is the Kill Shot UFC 285, 286. Edwards versus Usman 2, not 3.
3.
3?
3.
This is their third fight?
Yeah. Rubber match. They fought a long time ago, 3 rounds.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm like, was this? I already forgot about that fight. Okay, forget that shit. Edwards Usman, the rematch. We got a great card. And to break it all down, Big Marley, MonkMMAtics, we got the math, we got the breakdowns, and then me to keep it fun and entertaining, I guess. I don't know. A lot of people are like, what's that guy doing there? I just like the fights,
DFS
bro.
brains.
Yeah, I just like the fights. So let's get into it. You ready? We're going to start at the bottom of the card and work our way up. So we're starting with the prelim. Working our way up. And the first fight of the night is a weird one. Veronica, well, not really weird. Veronica, see, Fight On still calls her Macedo. Veronica Hardy taking on Juliana Miller. With Miller, a recent what the Ultimate Fighter winner, right? Ultimate Fighter winner, Juliana Miller, minus 430. Macedo is plus 430, 345 on the odds book. And the fight ends inside the distance is a reasonably high minus 145. So Big Marley, we've got an Ultimate Fighter winner against Veronica Macedo, who is pretty much somebody I'm shocked is still fighting in the UFC after just regularly losing all her fights.
Yeah, I mean, Macedo, we haven't seen her in 3 years. Since then, she, I guess, married Dan Hardy, changed her last name to Veronica Hardy. But other than that, I don't really know what she's been working on. She's now married to a striker, so I'd imagine he's helping her out with her striking. But that's not what she needs to improve on for this matchup. I think she probably already has the striking edge. She's going to be the quicker striker, the one throwing more volume, probably more active. She's a lot shorter. So I guess like the range would be on Miller's side for the feet. Miller is improving on the feet, but Juliana Miller is going to be the superior grappler in this fight. And I mean, unless Hardy has really been improving these last 3 years, I just don't think she can hang with Miller on the ground. Miller looks pretty good in top control, and I think she could probably get it there when she wants it. She scored like 112, 115 points in her UFC debut with like 10 minutes of top control time, 4 takedowns, a 3rd round finish. And I think she's in finish for a ground and pound knockout, a submission in any round here in this one. So I do like Miller. The only issue is that there's a lot of people priced in the 9K range that I want to get to, so I can't make like a heavy stand on her. I'll just be mixing her into lineups with these other people. And then on the Hardy side, I'm not really interested. If I need to go down that far just to have zero money remaining in my lineup, then maybe, I guess, if you love the other 5 fighters in your lineup. But I doubt I get to any Hardy this week. I don't know that I'm going to X her out of my player pool, but I won't be clicking her on her in any hand-built lineups. This one's going to be Miller or pass.
Big Marley, I have one minor argument for why you might play Veronica.
Yeah.
And it's because you probably wouldn't have played her against Polyana Viana either, but somehow she knows, apparently she knows how to do an armbar.
Yeah, that night burned me. I know I had Viana in that one.
Yeah, I'm sure we all did. So, I mean, she at least knows how to do an armbar, MonkMMAtics. So, like,
that's the bare minimum for entry into this division, I would imagine, is you have to at least be able to do an armbar and a head and a head and arm throw. That's the 2 things you got to do.
You're talking about a junior high school headlock at the
just
very
to get
least.
into the UFC.
Yeah.
Remember that one fighter? I can't remember her name. Mexican. She would just do the headlock, not even the throw. She just the whole fight. She get you in a headlock. I was like, yeah, baby, that's what I did back in 11th grade when I fought that
Betch Kohea before she got kicked.
No, I cannot
out?
remember. She looks like she was like this little thing. I cannot remember who it was, but she's the headlock girl. I there's no way I'm going to recall the name. But all right, so. Juliana, can she score enough here? I mean, she's a wrestler. She's got a high takedowns prop.
Yeah, I think she can score really well here. I don't really consider Veronica Hardy much of an opponent at this point. She's been off for over 3 years, basically. She had that one, what I would consider a fluky win over Polyana Viana. I wouldn't expect that to happen again. Miller scored very well in her first fight. Like Marley said, tons of control time. Hardy has a 46% takedown defense. She's been out-controlled in every single fight she's fought in the UFC, and it's really not close. It's like 3-1, 4-1, 10-1, 12-1. It's really not close. So I got Miller here. But like Marley said, like, how are you going to get to her? There's other people on this show or on this card that we're going to talk about that are quite frankly, there's two of the best DraftKings performers in the past 2 years on this same card. So I don't really know how much I'm going to be able to get to Miller. Women's flyweights do make optimal at a very high clip. So I think she's going to be way under-owned. And if you're playing 150, I'm interested. If you're playing 20, though, like, I mean, maybe a couple, but like there's so many people in that 9K range. How in the world are you going to get to her? And I don't like Hardy at all. There's nothing here on the bone for me for Veronica Hardy. So I'll just X her out of my player pool and maybe have a bit of Miller if I don't decide to go 100% on some absolute killers at the top end.
I did hear that Hardy has been practicing her grappling in the sack with Dan.
I was going to say there's I don't know if it's going to be enough. I've seen some of those full reptile videos.
I will say that no fight has been killing me more than the curtain jerker lately, though. So I might throw in one Hardy just because maybe Miller knees her in the face while she's down in the first round, and we get that 90-point DQ or something.
Yep. The armbar, there is a very specific. 100% that Miller is going to be going takedown after takedown after takedown, and if she gets caught in something because she's only fought against zeros in the Ultimate Fighter, listen, we just saw some dude come in last week, that Cedric Fraudmas, the Street Fighter, and he just looked like absolute shit against even what was a low-end real opponent.
Yeah,
so, I'm sorry, but Juliana
Miller has four pro fights also.
Yeah, against nothing, against absolute nobodies. We have no idea if she's any
maybe 5% Hardy.
Yeah, that's about it. But keep in mind, I'm sure that UFC put her up against Hardy very specifically for a reason. They want.
Why is she in the division? Why is this fight? Why is she fighting?
For the loss. They need to have. They have these type of fighters around when they want to give somebody a win. I really think that's got to be it. So sometimes it doesn't work. UFC tries to get him a win and it doesn't work. That's what happened with Fremd. Like he was there to lose.
Yeah,
he just won. All right, Ludovic Klein taking on Jai Herbert. Klein, now a -195 favorite. This is a little line movement. Yeah, here we go. It started about -155, so this has moved to -190. People like Ludovic. Herbert coming back at +168. This fight goes fight inside the distance is a surprisingly high -225. I don't know. Ludovic Klein's pretty wild. He tends to finish fights. +120 for Ludovic to win inside the distance. Herbert inside the distance is a much less interesting +545. Big Marley, stylistically, how do you see this one playing out?
So yeah, both these guys are primarily strikers, so we should have a striking match here with Klein being the one more likely to look for takedowns. Herbert's not very good off his back, so maybe that could help Klein if he does go for takedowns, but Klein's not a wrestler, so it would just be kind of mixing them in, maybe steal a close round type thing. But neither one of them are going to blow your socks off with volume. They're not going to score well in a 15-minute striking-based decision. They're probably not going to land too many takedowns either. So we're really playing for the knockout on both sides of this one. I do think that Klein is the more powerful striker, maybe more durable as well, but he costs more money. So I really don't even have a preferred play in this one. It's not a fight I even really want to target with my hand builds because I don't love relying on a knockout. But I'm fine with the DS putting either one of these guys in a lineup that doesn't have much salary remaining because it could be a first-round knockout from either one of them, 100-plus points near the mid-range. That's what we're playing for here. I'm picking Klein to get the win here, but it's just not much confidence. So I would say if I am using a Klein lineup, I'd be fine just going down the extra $600 if it moves me up to Makayev or somebody that I really want later in the card. But give me Klein by knockout or like a close split decision type fight.
Monk, Klein has like a history of being heavily favored and losing. And that's a bad scene for me. I don't like fighters that do that. But is he going to turn it around here?
I mean, he's turned it around since Landwehr. He was plus 127 against Smith in a win. He was plus 335 against Mason Jones in a win. Basically put Jones out of the UFC.
He flipped it, but I think he was minus 350 or something like that versus Landwehr as well.
Yep. He got subbed in the third round. Huge favorite over Trezano as well.
That was the other one.
As a strength of schedules are decent here. I'm surprised Herbert has like a head still attached to his neck after that Topuria fight. But someone apparently sewed it back on, and then here we are. He's fighting in his hometown, or his home country at least. Yeah, the DraftKings stats here are garbage. The one thing that stands out to me is Jai Herbert allows 3.5 points a minute and 105 points per loss, while Klein is averaging 2.2 points a minute given up and 75 allowed per loss. So give me Klein. I don't like that he's 4 inches shorter and has a 5-inch reach disadvantage, but yeah, I think like Marley, you're going to need to see a knockout here. This is going to be a striking battle, probably very, very low scoring. Winner scores 80-some points in a 3-round decision. But if that doesn't happen, I'd like some Klein for sure. Maybe a bit of Herbert, but like I said, the only thing he seems to have going his way as far as stats is a power. And Klein has never been knocked down. He has been KO'd once in the UFC or in his career, but not in the UFC. He hasn't been knocked down. So give me Klein for some upside, but I'll probably be pretty low on this fight.
Yeah, and Klein even has a little bit of grappling in his back pocket that I think he could use here against Herbert, whose Achilles heel seems to have been
very susceptible to grappling.
Yeah, so I mean, like he could pull it out of the back pocket and kind of do it that way unexpectedly. I don't love the scoring potential of that fight without that early finish, though. So luckily, it's middling price, but I almost favor Herbert as a DraftKings play because I don't like where Klein. I don't necessarily like paying up for Klein. I got to see how the salaries fall out on that one before I feel good. This next fight is really interesting. It's really interesting from DraftKings perspective. So I'm gonna be curious to both of your takes on this one. Stylistically, though, Big Marley, we've got Joanne Wood taking on Luana Carolina, with Wood coming in as now I'm saying Wood, Calderwood, Wood, I don't fucking know. But she's coming in as a minus 175 favorite. The comeback on Carolina is plus 155. The fight goes the distance is a significantly horrible, for scoring purposes, minus 300. Big Marley, tell me about the styles of these two fighters. And I will say that I do have a Prize Picks lock in this fight. Just like last week, Petr Yan, I gave you that lock button and you put him in every single Prize Picks, double up, triple up parlay. He basically gave you a free leg. And I said, even if Yan loses, he's going to smash. Do you know what Yan scored on Prize Picks? I know Big Marley's in Indiana. You don't get to play there. Monk, do you play on Prize Picks at all?
No, because I don't play anywhere that gives you points for defending takedowns.
Well, my boy Petr
That's insane.
In a loss, put up 169 points. The prop was 110. And I said, no matter what happens in this fight, Petr Yan is going to deliver. He can lose. He delivers. If he wins, he delivers. He fucking delivered. That was free money. Now I've got one on this fight. That's Joanne Wood over. And now it was 63 strikes when I gave it out. It's up to 71. How does Joanne Wood, Big Marley, not land 70 strikes in this fight? What is the scenario?
Yeah, I have an underdog. I have one underdog bet with like 5 plays, and that was the first one I clicked, was whatever her over was, because I think we're going to get 3 rounds of striking action in this one. I would say you don't get it if she actually goes for takedowns and strikes a lot in top control instead. But that's really not too much of Wood's game. So I mainly expect to see a striking battle. Maybe she mixes in 1 to 3 takedowns throughout the fight. And then, I don't know. I just don't see either one of these ladies having 100+ upside here. So I feel like we're playing more for 10x in this one. With Carolina, I think she's a fine cash game play, 7,600 if you need to go there. Even in a loss, I think she could put up a solid 30 or 40 points here. And then Wood, on the other hand, I don't see Wood really having any ownership on this card at 8,600, priced around the people that she has, but she's never not 10x'd that $8,600 price tag in a win. She does score well when she wins. She's a volume machine on the feet, but she's 37 years old now, towards the end of her career. And if I knew she wasn't going to go for any takedowns, I wouldn't feel as good about her getting to that 10x, to be honest with you. But I expect a pretty close fight here. I gave Wood the edge because I think she's slightly better striker at higher volume, and I also think she's the better grappler. So I like Wood to get the win, but it's kind of like the last fight. It's more of a DS fight for me, where I'm fine with the DS using either one of them. But with my hand builds, I probably will get away from this one in GPPs, and I'll expect a Wood 85-point win.
Monk, what do you say? Marley hit a good point. Somehow Wood always scores well on DraftKings when she wins, and I don't know how she does it. It's one of those weird phenomenon, but she has a massive strike per minute numbers.
This is true. However, she's only 1-4 in her last 5, so those wins are coming pretty few and far between these days.
That's true.
I looked at one thing as soon as I saw this.
But let's give her credit, by the way. Alexa Grasso, Talia Santos, like she was fighting pretty good opponents,
Sure, and she should be. She's been around for quite a long time. I looked at one thing when I saw this fight was announced. I looked to see if Luana Carolina had any submission wins on her record. She has one submission win on her record, therefore I'm picking Luana Carolina. I can't trust Joanne Wood as far as I could throw her. She scores. Marley's right. She scores incredibly well when she wins, but when she loses, she's giving the exact same amount of points to her opponents. Her opponents on average score 107 per loss and well over 4 points per minute. Both of these women are giving up well over 100 points per loss. This is a sneaky flyweight fight that I will be targeting. I think the winner could score well, whether it's Carolina inside the distance. Also, I have a sneaky feeling that Joanne Wood, being 37 years old and getting married, in the past year or so, and possibly starting a family, isn't going to be fighting for very long. And I don't put any stock in retiring fighters. There is a chance this is her last fight. I know she hasn't said anything. No one's talked about it, for rightfully so. She hasn't made an announcement. But I just feel like we're getting close to the end on Joanne Wood, and I do not play retiring fighters ever. So I favor Carolina here pretty heavily, to be honest. I don't like it for DraftKings. I will be picking her to win, but I might have a little bit of both because, like I said, I think this is a sneaky fight. And women's flyweight, again, very, very good fight to target. We're like 15-20% leverage on these women's flyweights fights. So I see that, and I see two women giving up well over 100 points. I'm going to be rostering this fight here.
That scenario where, so bringing it back to this, how does Wood not land on 70 strikes, right? She's landing almost 7 strikes per minute, and those are in fights a lot of times when she's being taken down. When she's actually just standing and striking, it's a higher number than that. We know that Carolina is not attempting any takedowns, although the sneaky sub scenario is definitely in play here. But I think aside from the strikes above, as a DraftKings play, I'm probably I think the cheaper fighter here is the one you have to favor because we need underdogs. Basically, Luana is maybe slightly better than she's getting credit for. I think there's something to your what if JoJo doesn't give a shit anymore? And she's just kind of we saw with Derek Brunson. He goes, he fights, and the next day he's on Instagram yeah, I just bought my mom a Corolla, bitch. And I was like, of all the cars that you're going to fucking flex, bro, you're flexing the Corolla for your mom. But then I remembered, the UFC fighters don't make that much money. If that was an NFL player and flexing a Corolla for his mom, I'd be like, bro, come on, dude. You didn't get your mom a Mercedes? What are you doing? But how much does Brunson get paid? Yeah, $200,000 a year for these fights. So he just went out for a paycheck. So is JoJo doing this her last fight in front of the home crowd?
Could be
danger. I like it. I like the angle because it's danger. It could be real. All right. Next up, Jake Hadley taking on Malcolm Gordon. Man, Hadley is a minus 370 favorite in this one. Gordon, a pretty big underdog here, plus 310. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 175. Big Marley, we got a big favorite here. Can Jake Hadley do the job?
Yeah, he should be able to do the job. I think he's better fighter everywhere in this one. I mean, I think Gordon is a defensive, a decent offensive fighter, whether it be striking or grappling. He's not really striking a whole lot, but he looks okay offensively. It's just defensively, he's so poor, striking and and with his takedown defense, and he's got a weak chin as well. So I really don't give Gordon any edges in this fight. I think Hadley's the much better boxer. He could piece him up on the feet. I also think he's the better wrestler and the better grappler. We need him to be wrestling and grappling, most likely to, not only pay off $9,300, but to beat everyone else in the range. And I don't know that he is, more likely to beat anyone else priced around him, but I think it's a really good matchup for Hadley to get the win. And I don't have much interest in Gordon. Same interest I have in Hardy, I guess. Like, if that's what I need to do to get the other 5 people that I really want in my lineup, then sure, fine. Put Gordon as my 6th one. Hopefully something crazy happens. But for me, this is all Hadley. I think he gets it done fairly easy. And I think I'll pick him to get a unanimous decision, 30-27.
I like it. Any thoughts here in terms of scoring, points, any of that, Monk?
I wanted to fade Hadley mostly because I like fading guys who nickname themselves White Kong. I don't know what that's all about, but
anytime you put white in your nickname,
that's a rough look.
Yeah. Remember Alex Morono, the Great White?
Yeah, that's rough.
Just take the white out of your name, guys.
Just take the white out. Let's. I'm with Marley. It's dog or pass probably for me. I just don't know how. I think Hadley wins. I don't know how I'm going to get to him though. He scored 109 points in his one UFC win. That would have been against Carlos Candelario, so that is a decent win. And I mean, Candelario is not like a world beater, but he's all right. There's just nothing for Gordon here. I mean, he scores 91 per win. He has made optimal lineup in both. In both of his past 2 wins.
Malcolm Gordon, if you just breathe heavily on him, will flop right onto his back. He appears to like doing that.
Yeah.
The takedowns are going to be there in this fight because he will willingly he's almost Damian Maia, like flopping back there. He wants you there.
Also, his takedown defense is 9% in his career. Not good at all. I think it's easy to say that that's not good. Give me Hadley for the win. How am I going to get to him? Like, this is like, according to the stats, this is a low rent. Like, I would just pay $400 more and get Makayev if I wanted Hadley. So, I'm going to be low on this fight. I don't see how. Hadley's too expensive. It's going to be Gordon for me. He might be a punt play in a few of my lineups, but there's some other guys who I'd be punting with over Gordon before Malcolm here that we're going to get to here shortly. I do like him more than Hardy, that's for sure, but that's not saying much. So give me dog or pass, I guess, for DraftKings, but I won't have a lot of this fight at all.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. If I'm playing Gordon, it's just the random what if, just I don't expect him to win, but Gordon's pretty tough dude. And what if his chin holds up? Like, this guy's always being rocked. And what if his chin is good? And what if he lands a sub or something? It's just a prayer. It's a prayer. All right. Next up, Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Dusko Todorovic. This is the other Chris Duncan. There are 2 Chris Duncans on this freaking card, by the way. Be careful when you're clicking those buttons because this Chris Duncan is probably a little bit better than the other one. But minus 220 for Duncan. The comeback on Dusko, plus 180. This is a high ends inside the distance prop, minus 375. What? That's because Dusko always, kill or be killed. You don't make it through fights. Big Marley, minus 375 inside the distance sounds promising.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight to target. Christian Duncan looks like a well-rounded fighter, but he wants to keep this fight on the feet. I think he'll be the faster striker, much better kicks, more durable, got power in his hands as well. And Dusko just has such poor striking defense with his hands down style, chin up. I never liked that for Dusko. But at the same time, on the Dusko side, he's the one that should be looking to wrestle in this fight. And he has scored over 100 in all of his UFC wins. If he does have success in this fight, I would expect the majority of it to come on the mat. and he probably scores well. I think he's almost a lock for 10x or more, but he has 100+ upside at 7,500 as well. So I definitely like Dusko as an underdog with a high ceiling, but I just think that his takedown, his striking defense and chin are just too much of a worry. I think at some point he probably does get cracked and knocked out, and that could be in any round. The earlier, the better on the Duncan side, but I will take Duncan to get the first round knockout. But I would think that I end up with more Dusko exposure just because he has the higher ceiling and more paths to get there, because I think Duncan has to get the knockout in order for him to score 100+ points, because he's not going to be the one going for takedowns here. He has submissions in his game, but it's probably going to be a defensive submission where he's getting a guillotine or something like that on one of Dusko's takedown attempts. So I think it's really knockout or bust for Duncan, and I like other favorites more. So I think I'll be underweight to Duncan, overweight to Dusko, even though I'm picking him to lose.
You got to point out that Dusko's wins in the UFC have been against absolute turds. And I'm talking about like the worst of the worst kind of opponents. So he has UFC wins, but Jordan Wright, Maki Patolo. All right, Maki Patolo.
I don't have to mention that, because then I would have to mention the same thing about Duncan. So I don't.
Well, Duncan's got nothing in the UFC. So I don't know he hasn't had any UFC fights, a debutant, but Dusko's wins are really, really low level in the UFC, but he does have wins in the UFC. Being better than Jordan Wright at least means you could be like a jobber in the UFC, I guess, for now. Monk, does Chris Duncan, get this done fast enough to pay off his salary?
Yeah, I have no idea. You're going to have to do all your fight tape for this one. I'm leaning Dusko or pass. He's 7-4. There's nothing I like about this fight, and I just usually side with the UFC veteran. More often than not, they get the win. 60% over 41 or 58% over 42% for debuting fighters. Yeah, Dusko scores well, but like you said, he's fighting Jordan Wright, Maki Patolo. But what's better than being a fighter who beats the guys you should beat than getting a newcomer off the Dana, not even off the Dana White Contender Series fight, just some guy with 7 fights. That's a great opponent for Dusko, in my opinion. It's probably going to be dog or pass here. I don't want to put I'm going to go around Duncan. I think maybe a few lineups for that first round upside, but first round strikers that win outside the first minute don't score well. To be honest, sometimes they don't even count the knockdown. If you get a knockdown, sometimes the guys just kind of go down. They don't get knocked down. So if you don't get that 10 points, you might not even score 100 points in a first round win. So I don't generally just look for great first round props and then play those guys. I got to see what they can do. I'm going to be leaning Dusko for the reason he does score well against guys that aren't good. We don't know if Duncan's good. He's got 7 fights. He's doesn't even have a unique name for this card. So I'm just going to take the wait and see approach. Give me a little bit of Dusko here, but if Duncan comes out here and knocks Dusko down, which he could easily, gets a knockdown, finishes him in the first round, scores over 100 and some, then yeah, I'll be pretty happy with that. But like I said, he could easily get a first round KO or knockout TKO and not even 100 score 100. So give me Todorovic for some upside, but big yikes on this fight.
Two of Duncan's wins of his 7 came against the same guy.
Yeah, supposedly that guy's not bad and will be in the UFC soon.
He does look like, he has he's been pretty good since then. So, MMA math, but I'm all about the MMA math.
Duncan does have a long amateur history though. So he's got a lot of fights in his career, at least.
Yeah. I'm leaning Duncan to be honest. I think Dusko
does someone have more of an unbettable face than Dusko Todorovic?
That's what I'm saying. He's just
Jordan Wright.
Yeah, you got me there.
and the guy from last week, the Turkali, that guy right there.
Oh, pleasure, man.
That dude needs to get his head out of the wherever his head is and into the game. Pleasure, man. All right, next up we got Lerone Murphy taking on Gabriel Santos. Close fight. Lerone is currently minus 180. Come back on Santos plus 158. Yeah, the line has been steadily moving in favor of Leron here. So the fight ends inside a distance. Prop is a mediocre -135. And Big Marley, I am, these are some debutantes, or at least I think so. So tell me about these fighters.
Murphy's been around. He is the home country guy here. He's the one who had a training camp. Santos is taking this fight on like a week's notice. Going to have to fly from Brazil. And I would say all that is going to help Murphy here. He is a solid striker, big time power, very explosive, always in play for a knockout. And if it's in the first round at $8,300, he's probably on the nuts. I'm just not convinced that he's a great minute winner. He's not high volume on the feet. He's really not looking to wrestle much. And I liked what I saw from Santos, man. This kid's pretty damn good. I think he's very aggressive on the feet. He likes to go and grapple, looking for takedowns himself. He's decent off his back as well. So I think Santos could be our minute winner here as long as that short notice and long flight doesn't, make him gas out at some point in this fight. I think he's the one who is going to fight for your money. I'd rather take a shot on the underdog. Murphy is just the kind of fighter that I like to fade, just a first round knockout or bust for DraftKings, because he doesn't do a whole lot to score minute to minute. So I won't really get any Murphy this week, I would imagine. And Santos is somebody I will be overweight on. Maybe my favorite underdog pick of the card, possibly.
Wow. All right.
I think he can win by any method.
I smell a kill shot coming. We'll see. MonkMMAtics, any thoughts on these two?
Well, yeah, I was very confused at this line when I saw it. First of all, it is a remade fight. This is a short notice fight for Santos. They win at 37% of the time. He's flying across the world, basically over an ocean, to fight in Lerone Murphy's backyard, who has been in the UFC. Again, newcomers win 41% of the time. There's so many trends that I just go again that tell me not to look at Santos too hard. Like, I just don't get it. I mean, Murphy's an undefeated fighter, unless Santos is, and I haven't heard, I hear he's a decent fighter, Santos, but I haven't heard oh, watch out for this guy when he gets to the UFC. I haven't heard that ever at all. So all the love for him this week against an undefeated guy fighting at home against a guy on short notice really makes no sense to me. All that said, I'm with Marley here. Murphy scores 83 points per win. I'm not interested in that at all. Give me a little bit of Santos just for the upside, because apparently people know a bunch of shit that I don't. Both guys' strength of schedules are pretty good. Murphy's beaten guys like Amir Khani, Douglas Silva de Andrade, and Ricardo Ramos. Drew against Tukagov. Not the best names, but definitely not the worst names.
Those are impressive wins
that we've seen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick Murphy. I'm going to fade this fight as a whole because I don't think it's going to score well. But yeah, I don't understand the line move. I don't understand the closeness.
Well, the line is moving. In fairness, the line
finally it opened at -135 for Murphy. What in the world against a guy who's never fought in the UFC on short notice, flying across the world? I don't get it.
I would like to know what they would line a fight in America with both these guys having a full training camp, though. I'm not even positive Murphy's favored.
That's true.
I mean, that's a big
difference, though.
It speaks positively to Santos for me because, Lerone has real wins against really good opponents. And
you like MMA math, Kevin. We got Santos has beat Elvis Brenner, who just beat Tukagov, who Leron Murphy could not beat. So there you go. Santos wins.
I like all of that.
Yep.
and in fair, yeah, Santos, even for a newcomer to the UFC, then, a lot of times I look at the record of his opponents, right? And it's like, this guy's not fighting turds. This guy's fighting at 12-2, at 13-1. He's fighting real fighters. Speaking of Elvis, I try to watch that Elvis movie. It's on HBO right now.
I heard bad things. Not Tom Hanks's best work is the word on the streets.
One of the worst Tom Hanks performances.
I heard his accent is god awful.
It's not good. I don't even know what accent he's actually attempting to pull. I think the accent sounds like the guy from The Terminal. What he pulled out the random country that no one
ever made up country.
Yeah, that's exactly. He used the same Man, I was not. It was all right. I'm only an hour in. I stopped watching it. It wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like Walk the Line, where I was going to be like into the music for it.
Oh, no.
Maybe second half, but like I'm an hour in and I'm just like, the performance though really great from the kid playing.
Yeah, he's going to be big.
Yeah, he's going to be a star. But he was good, but like that movie did not do it for me. All right. Speaking of Elvis, you like how I transitioned to Elvis based on that fighter? Nothing to do with anything.
I was trying to remember how we got there.
Yeah. It's a fighter named Elvis. This wasn't pre-planned. All right. Next up, we've got Muhammad Makayev taking on no one. All right. It's Muhammad Makayev. Muhammad's coming in minus 850. Phil Ho plus 575. I mean, we've got one of the inside of distance prop here, minus 170. We don't care if it's inside of distance. The more Muhammad we see in the octagon, the more scoring is happening. Just piling up points. He's like, Marab, hold my beer, bitch. Let me show you how it's done. Big Marley. Is there any reason to not, outside of sound, like any red flags on this kid, Makayev, at this point?
No, I mean, I guess the red flag would be that he didn't put away Gordon early, in the first or second round in his last fight. But no, I think this is a setup fight for him to win in London, bringing in a newcomer from Brazil. I don't think Phil Ho's a bad fighter. I think he's decent at jiu-jitsu. He had a nice knockout in his last fight as well. So like he's fairly well rounded. I just can't give him the edge anywhere. And like he wants to be on the ground, but he doesn't have the wrestling to get it there. And Makayev does. So I don't know that he's going to be able to get a submission from the bottom over Makayev. I think it would be like an ankle lock or something like that. Some weird submission that I fucking hate that always kills me. But other than that, this should be all Makayev. I give him the edge everywhere. Maybe I guess a striking match could be close because we haven't seen a lot of Makayev. But from what I have seen on the regional scene, I still think Makayev is a better striker in this one, especially with his kicks. But give me Makayev to get this fight to the ground when he wants it there. And I think Phil Ho will just accept takedowns because he likes to be on the ground. So whether he's on top or the bottom, he's on the ground, begging people to come on top of him on the regional scene. So I think he'll just accept the takedowns. Makayev could put up 10 plus here. The only issue is 9,700. If you can't afford it, then maybe look somewhere else. But I'll definitely have Makayev in half or more of my lineups.
I know Monk is going to try to force Makayev in there as much as possible. 8.8 takedowns average per 15, going up against an opponent who happily accepts a takedown, potentially here. If DraftKings provided submission attempt point, I think FanDuel gives extra points for submission attempts. He could score like 1,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah, there will be no trying to jam Makayev in. I'll be trying not to put him in 100% of my lineups. I really don't see why you wouldn't.
9,700 is why. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, that doesn't. He could be 10K and I'll put him in. This guy is literally one of the top 8 best DraftKings scorers since I've been tracking. Since 2021, Muhammad Makayev is one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8.
Where's my boy
people.
Jailton Almeida on that list?
Oh, he's like second behind only one other person that we have yet to know. You'll be probably surprised, apparently.
Sir Gregor?
No, you'll be surprised. No, Muhammad Makayev is one of 8 fighters that has at least 3 fights since 2021, has won all of them, and has a 100% optimal rating. The guy scores 122 per win. His DraftKings points ratio, what he scores compared to his opponents, is 7.52 to 1. His average value is 13, and this is while being 9,500, 9,100, 9,600 last time. They're just like, okay, how high can we put this guy where he doesn't make the optimal lineup? I say you can't put him high enough. I say I will have him in no matter what, because I do think he does make the optimal lineup. And now you're telling me his opponent is a brand new kid who loves to be taken down, newcomer from another country fighting in Makayev's backyard. Give me, like I said, I don't know how it's going to be hard to not be 100% on Makayev. I think he's as close to an auto play as there is this week. And yeah, you said what's the red flag on Makayev? Well, the haters will say, "Oh, he almost got choked out by Malcolm Gordon." First of all, that's not true at all. He had his back taken, sure, but like, what happened? That I mean, my ass whoop index was a 25, 26 for that fight, where 0 is completely even. 26 is a huge number. Gordon did not even come close to winning that fight. Also, he got subbed at the end of it, and Makayev still went on to put up 120, still went on to make the optimal at 9,600. It's him and Almeida. You can't put these guys high enough as far as salary. I am playing them.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, listen, what's to know? This is a Khabib-style fighter.
If you're not playing him, you're just being contrarian. You're like one of those people who's like, I'm not watching Game of Thrones because everyone's talking about it, so I'm not going to watch it. That's what you are if you're not playing Muhammad Makayev. And nobody wants to be that person. Nobody likes that person.
Especially with the way the accent that you did it. That is what they sounded like.
Yeah, and they put their pinkies up and they slide their glasses up like this. Oh, I don't watch television.
Thrones watchers.
Yeah.
No one can't stand the non-Game of Thrones.
Breaking Bad. Oh, that's so popular. I'm not going to watch that.
I heard the final season was terrible.
Yeah, why don't you go stare at the corner?
It was bad. Yeah, of course, play Muhammad. Come on. All right. Here's an interesting fight. Sam Patterson taking on Yanal Ashmuz. Sam Patterson minus 270. Come back on Yanal plus 230. Fight ends inside a decision and acceptable minus 160. Now, Big Marley. A little more obscure fighters here, especially Yanal. Not too much footage out there. But what can you tell me about this fight stylistically? Because up until now, we've had a good idea of how most of the fights that we've discussed would really play out. This one, I don't know.
I think that it kind of looks like a setup fight for Patterson, in my opinion. I think he is going to be the much better striker here, the longer striker. He's got solid chokes as well. I really didn't see, anything from Yanal that made me think he's UFC caliber. I think that he throws the harder punches, and he'll go for more takedowns than Patterson. That's really it. But he's not a good wrestler and he's not a good striker, so he's just got to get lucky with one of those punches. And I think if he's going for takedowns, he's probably more likely to get choked out than he is to have any real success here. So I'm going to be on the Patterson or pass side of this one. I think he could just light him up on the feet. And just kind of volume his way to a TKO, or he could just lock up a choke in any round. I do think he could score well. It's just that I love the 9K range. I love Makayev. There's somebody else I love even more around that range. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to Patterson, but I really just don't have any interest in this Yanal guy. So I think I might X him out of my lineups.
Harsh. How about you, Monk? What do you say on this one?
Yeah, I'm probably the same. I don't know anything about these guys. It definitely does appear to be a Sam Patterson setup here. 9K. I don't want to pay that for a new guy, but I mean, he could come out here and just finish this dude in like no time. I mean, he only has 6 professional fights, this guy, Ashmos. However, his nickname is Red Fox, and I'm sure that actually means Red Fox, but that means something totally different in American culture. So I love a guy with a nickname of Red Fox. He just needs 2 X's up there, and it would be complete. So I want to root for him just for that reason. But Sam Patterson probably wins here. I'm a stat guy with no stats. So I'm looking at like strength of schedule. It's 10, 11 points better for Patterson. He's going to be the taller fighter by, it looks like 6 inches. I'm not sure what the reach is because apparently the UFC didn't even know Ashmaz's reach a couple of days ago. So yeah, give me Patterson and probably what's going to be a sloppy looking fight. And we'll see what Patterson's all about after this. But as far as rostering things, I mean, maybe you get in on the 9K salary. It's been a good salary. It's been the only salary of 9K or above to make optimal lineup 2 weeks in a row. So there is that. But other than stuff like that, I'm really not too interested in this fight.
Listen, this fight has some sloppy potential in a few different ways.
Yep.
I did not like if Sam Patterson has footage that you could see. I didn't think it was very good. I didn't think he looked like a very good fighter at all. He's pretty good at the grappling. He's getting those submissions. But like overall as a fighter, I just was not blown away by what I saw. I didn't think his striking looked that good. I actually think Yanal might be a better striker as short as he is, relatively speaking, to this other fellow. But again, the Yanal footage is way less findable. So, you know, I like my Israeli fighters. They tend to have good grappling, and that is just based on the other couple of Israeli fighters that we've seen in the UFC. Recently, that's the best I got to go on. Little country, got to kind of like assume a lot of these guys all train together somewhere in a room somewhere in Tel Aviv, something like that. So I don't know. I'm going for the underdog on this one just because I didn't like what I saw out of Sam Patterson. I didn't like enough to give some UFC debutante coming off a Contender Series minus 270 odds. Like, you're not that good. So I think some of these British fighters or these European fighters are being overinflated a little bit because they're home crowd and, you know, people bet in their countries. You know, European countries have a lot of betting. You know what country doesn't allow betting? Yanals. Can't bet there.
Yeah.
Can't bet there. Can't move the line. Can't move the line. So I'm going underdog on this one, Big Marley. What do you say?
I mean, I don't hate the idea of fading Patterson, but I just don't think this is the matchup.
I agree, but fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Patterson didn't look that good.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
we need underdogs. We need cheap underdogs too. So, like, I just think I'll find other spots, to be honest. I just didn't like anything from you know.
I haven't found too many yet, but let's see as we continue through this card. All right, next up, we have got, I hate this fight. Chris Duncan taking on Omar Morales. Even odds fight here, minus 105, minus 115. It's basically even odds. Fight ends inside the distance. This is surprising for me, minus 245. So we got some pretty high inside the distance odds here for a fight that I was not thinking would have that at all. I thought this was going to be favored to go to decision. Big Marley, let's talk styles here. Chris Duncan, not to be confused with Chris Leroy Duncan. It's two different people. And Omar Morales.
Yeah, I would say both are primarily strikers, but that minus 245 inside the distance line is coming from the Duncan side. He's just a wild man. He won his last fight on the Dana White's Contender Series by knockout, but that was like after he was like dropped twice and stumbling all around, and he just knocked this guy out with a wild punch. He's very hittable. I think Omar is going to be the more skilled fighter everywhere, but Omar is coming off of 2 straight losses where he was finished, and he's never finished anybody himself. He's never scored well, Omar, that is, on DraftKings. So I think Duncan, you know, just going out trying to knock Omar's head off, everything Duncan throws is heavy, whether it's leg kicks, whether he's trying to punch him in the face. He's trying to knock Omar's head off with every single punch, and if it happens, then he's going to score well. I do think Omar might be in play for an early finish himself just because of how hittable and kind of irresponsible Duncan can be on the feet. But if Omar does just normal Omar stuff, he probably is going to sit back, make this a slower paced fight, avoid the kill shot, and then pick his way to a decision win. I don't know that he's going to score enough, but this is our mid-range fight of the week. I'm cool targeting either side because I think both are playable for that knockout. But Duncan is cheaper. I think he's the one who's more likely to get a first round knockout. So maybe he's my preferred DraftKings play for those reasons. I really just don't care too much on this. This is a good DS fight for me. Let the optimizer control it for you. And I'm cool with 20+% of both guys, to be honest with you. I think this could end in round 1 and it could be an important fight. But it's just hard to tell.
You know, Morales' losses have aged well a little bit. You know, when you look at Giga Jikadze, I mean, he's turned out to be a pretty good fighter. Jonathan Pierce continues to win fights in the UFC. And even Eurosmetic, you know, he's winning. He's winning fights. Guy looks pretty good. So I was down on Morales a little bit because of that because of those losses, but they've aged well. Now he gets sort of I think a pretty big step down in competition.
Yeah, 100%. I'm judging him more on his lack of ability to score any points whatsoever when it comes to DraftKings. He has yet to even sniff 90 points in a win. He's 8,200. His ideal score for optimal value is about 109. I have no idea how he's going to get there. That's almost doubling his DraftKings points per win, which is 63. So it's pretty much going to be dog or pass here. We get Chris Duncan, the wild man, at a dog salary, 8K. I like that. I think there is a chance Omar could come out here and starch him because Chris is so irresponsible. But I'm not going to depend on that too much. I might honestly be Xing Omar out just based on the fact that he scores. He's one of the worst DraftKings scorers I've ever seen, honestly. 1.85 points per minute. Like I said, 63 per win. And when he does lose, which has happened 3 times in his last 5, 100 points is what his opponents score on average. So I'm leaning the dog here in a very sloppy win. But if Morales does what he should, it's going to be a very low-scoring, striking affair that's going to go to decision, and Morales could win with like 60, 70 points. So not interested in Morales. Give me a little bit of Duncan, but it's just difficult because this is such a mid-range fight. The 8 and 8,200 fight is always a good one to target. But, man, these are some tough names this week.
I'm just looking at the stats from the 2 fights here that Duncan has had in the UFC, and they look very, very good. So the scoring stats look really good. 4 takedowns. So he's going for takedowns like a lunatic. He's 7 strikes per minute. He's all those takedowns and landing 7 strikes per minute. Big Marley, that description of the Contender Series is like coming through on the numbers.
And they're both finishes, so you didn't get the full time in either one of them. The first one was against that striker Borishev or something like that. So his takedowns
Slava claws,
against a pure striker, so it's not super important. Super valuable, I guess, those takedowns. But man, he got knocked out in that fight, and then he was really just on the ropes in that second fight, and it just happened to go. That one punch he threw happened to go his way. Like, it could have definitely been the other guy's win if it lasted another 15 seconds. Another ref could have stepped in there earlier. Like, yeah, man, he's just a hard guy to trust, but he throws hard. So if it
dangerous.
Lands,
yeah, it's dangerous. It's a crazy one. All right. Next up, are we allowing Chris Duncan as a kill shot, or is that a little too?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I don't think it'll be too long.
A minus 105er.
Well, yeah, I guess since Morales, as long as he stays higher, I guess I'm okay with it.
It's a sketchy kill shot pick.
Yeah, I just don't think it'll be too owned, so that's why I think it'd be all right.
That's fair. All right, next up we got Jack Shore taking on Makwan Amirkhani, and of course, Makwan's been around forever. Jack Shore heavily favored, minus 485. Come back on Makwan plus 385, and this fight. This is a surprisingly low inside the distance number at minus 190. And I would have thought that number would have been higher. So take that for what you will. Big Marley, Makwan known for his first, his cardio in the first round, and then just dunzo after that. Anything changed? Is that how you see this playing out?
No, I think he's got 1 round to get a submission here. Makwan is a good wrestler, good grappler for 1 round, and then after that, he just gasses and completely falls apart. But I think he's very in play on DraftKings because if he wins, he's scoring 95-plus points here, and he's going to be on the optimal lineup if he gets the win. So I do want some Makwan exposure in case that happens. I just think that this is Shore's fight, especially after round 1. It's just going to be all Shore. He should be able to do whatever he wants after round 1. But I think he's going to be the much better striker in round 1. I think he could possibly be the better wrestler and grappler as well. He is making his way up 10 pounds here in this one, so I don't know if that's going to end up favoring Makwan in the first round wrestling department or not. But I like Shore quite a bit here, especially after round 1. If this one makes it out of the first round, he's probably going to be minus 1,000 on the betting line, and he should put him away in the second or third round. So Shore's my preferred play. I'll have a good amount of Shore here, but Makwan is my favorite super cheap underdog for GPPs, I would say, as a hedge play.
You mentioned the live odds, and I'm not sure that that's what it would look like. So here's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how that first round goes. But if Shore wins it, which I kind of think he could, yeah, it's just gonna be super high.
But let me paint the scenario of Makwan winning the first round. Gets the two takedowns, maybe 3 along the way. Dominate, looks great. Odds moving in his favor. He's no longer plus 380. Jack Shore goes from minus 500 to minus 200, minus 170. So if I'm betting this fight, rather than lay a minus 500 pre-fight, I want to Derek Brunson this one and wait until the first round, see if Makwan can somehow win the first round, and then rely on his traditional gassitude to bet in between the first and second round and maybe get Shore at minus 130 or minus 140. So that to me is the way I would want to play this fight on the betting side, because once it gets out of that first round, we could pretty much expect Makwan just to fade away. He's 37. He's 34. You don't change at 34. He's beyond the age of changing himself as a fighter, in my opinion. So that's how I might play it. I'm just going to watch it because I don't want to pre-fight bet this, even though I think Jack Shore is going to win. What do you say, Monk?
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know. I mean, I think Jack Shore is going to win here as well. I like Amir Khani, but like you said, after the first round, he just falls off of a cliff. So that mixed with the $6,700 salary that has a 5% win rate, not really on the Amir Khani side. That said, I'll pick Jack Shore, but he's 9,500. Why wouldn't I just pay $200 more and get Muhammad Makayev? Jack Shore scores 4 points a minute, but 98 per win. He's 860 over his average salary. Like, he doesn't. If I'm putting those two against each other, which you have to do, it's the two highest salaries on this weekend's card. I'm obviously picking Makayev, so I really don't know how much Jack Shore I'm going to get to. I like Jack Shore. I hope he wins. But yeah, I'm going to be big fading Jack Shore overall.
Theme of the show.
Yeah.
Everybody even floating near Makayev almost can't play them, because Makayev is right there, locked in for. And even if
Makayev comes out and shits the bed, like I'm almost fine. Like, obviously I'm not fine with it, but like it's an anomaly at this point for him to not score like 120 points. So
it's like Marab for years has been for us. So same phenomenon going strong. So you got my betting, but I do expect Jack Shore to win this fight. I don't think I agree with you, Big Marley. I guess Makwan is an okay underdog play on the card. But
yeah, as in, like, if he wins, he's on the optimal lineup.
He will win if he's. But the odds makers are giving him that plus 400, which is not horrible. But
yeah, I'm cool matching that, like plus 400. So like right under 20%. That's cool with me.
That's about right. So next up, we've got Marvin Vettori taking on Roman Dolidze. Vettori is coming in as the favorite in this one, minus 275, with Roman an acceptable plus 235. The fight ends inside the distance prop is minus 170. That ends inside the distance prop is interesting for me because Marvin Vettori is just not a guy who like has ever even shown that you can hurt him with your fists. So I guess submission for Dolidze. Maybe. I don't know. Big Marley, how do you see this one playing out? Roman coming through as an underdog time and time and time again.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever picked this guy to freaking win either, so he's killing me time and time again. But I would say he is the more dangerous fighter of the two with his submissions and with his power. But Vettori's the more skilled fighter. He's going to be our minute winner here. I think he's the better wrestler, better grappler, better striker. I just don't know that he's going to put away Dolidze, and he doesn't score great in 3-round fights. He's awesome in 5-round fights, but I don't think 3 is going to be enough for me to get to too much Vettori here. I think Vettori's going to win 30-27, but he probably scores 80 points, and that's not going to cut it. So this is a fight I'm more so looking to get away from or toss in a little bit of Dolidze. Maybe he can land something big. He's a cheap underdog with a high ceiling if he can finish early. But since I'm picking him to lose 30-27, I don't want too much exposure to him either. Probably be like 10%, something like that. But I guess he's my preferred play of the two, just for that upside.
Big ask to knock out Vettori. This guy's never been knocked down in his UFC career. I don't think I've ever seen him, in trouble in that way. Let's take a look here, but nothing there. Monk, you can't like this fight for scoring purposes.
Oh, this is one of my best fights to target. I don't know what
Really?
you guys are talking. Oh yeah. Marvin Vettori is one of the best DraftKings scorers on this entire card. Not named Muhammad Makayev. He scores
in 5-round fights though.
3.43 points a minute. Yeah, in 5-round fights. I mean, but still, he's at 135. 130. I mean, you cut 2 rounds off that, you're still over 100. I think.
Hold up, that is not the math of if you remove 40% of 135.
I'm not removing 40% because if the longer this goes, the worse it is for Roman Dolidze. I think this is a stack. This is just going to be This is going to be compounding, much like compounding interest, in my opinion.
We're going to talk this through. We're going to talk it through by looking at the DraftKings screen. If I can turn mine on here, because oh my God, where's DraftKings? All right, here we go. Let me put this up here. Okay, hold on.
How about we let Monk finish?
Keep going. But I want to.
5 of 8 of his fights, he scored over 100 points. Half of his wins, he scored over 110. Meanwhile, I'm on the Dolidze side. I have been picking him for 3 or 4 fights in a row. I have been telling every single person to roster him all the time in DraftKings, and there's no reason I'm stopping that today at 7,100. They keep giving me this guy cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and he's just paying me more and more and more money. Now he's $1,050 under his average salary. I absolutely love this fight for DraftKings. I will have almost 100% of this fight, in my opinion.
Wow.
I'm not going to get away from this one. I think the winner scores. I think the winner scores extremely well. Roman Dolidze with a win is on the optimal lineup, no matter what. And I think Marvin Vettori scores, like I said, one of the better DraftKings players on this card, and that's saying a lot when I've already told you 2 of the top 8 DraftKings fighters are on this card.
33 strikes landed against Whitaker.
Yeah, but that's in a loss, though. I'm saying if that's why you target both, like you have to play this fight. If he loses, Dolidze's on the optimal lineup.
Dolidze I'll accept just because of the price, regardless of how it goes. Vettori hasn't been finished. So if you look at his history, I mean, he goes to decision. So it's hard for his opponent to put up a big number because he doesn't take a knockdown, and Dolidze doesn't go for a takedown. He doesn't really do that. So he has good wrestling. I think the scenario where he scores well, Dolidze, is Vettori going for takedowns, probably foolishly. And Dolidze can lock up a submission from that. I think that might be the win path for Homon. For Vettori, I haven't really seen where Dolidze is getting rocked either. Do we think that Vettori is going to go for multiple takedowns against Dolidze?
Oh yeah.
That's how he scored. I don't know. I'm not on board with this fight scoring. I see what you're saying. Against Paulo Costa, he scored well in a 5-rounder. The Holland fight, throw it away. That was just silliness. Hermanson, he scored very well in that decision. So, like, he put up a good number over that 5-round fight. Definitely. But
in his wins, he's out controlling people. He's just controlling the shit out of people, just racking up constant points, minute by minute by minute.
So tough because the 3-rounders did not look very good. This is about the score that I would expect here. I think 3 rounds, a couple takedowns, and 81 fantasy points. So I don't want to be all in on this fight at all. I accept that he's playable at 9,100, but you've got Makayev at 97. You've got Marley on this card. You can't play them both. You cannot play Vettori, Muhammad, and Marley all in the same lineup.
You could,
but it's going to look real ugly. I'm not saying you probably shouldn't, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to look good. So I'm just saying, I don't know. The numbers are not sitting well for me. There's too many other options there. Gunnar, there's other options. Fiziev.
Oh God, those guys score so much worse than Marvin Vettori. It's not even close.
Yeah, but Gunnar could win in the first round by submission.
How? He had Takashi Soto's back for 16 of 15 minutes.
But if he wins,
try to sub him.
He's submitting him. That's how he does it. That's how Gunnar is going to win, right? How does he win? Fiziev, he's knocking out
Gunnar
Gaethje
wins by decision. Long decision, 60-point victory.
They're all like that. They all have that risk. But I don't know. I think if you don't get some sort of if you don't get some sort of wild, I think that fight is not going to lead to wild. I think they're both super tough. They both have really good chins. Homan is a cautious fighter. Doesn't get hit a lot. Hold on. What I do?
When I said 100%, I'm going to be like 80-20. Delete. I'm huge on deletes.
So you're just loving deletes, and that's fine. So
but the rest of where I don't have deletes, I will probably have Vettori
for hedging purposes. To me, though, if I was going 50-50, I don't think you can have 50% exposure to Vettori in this fight. It's just
oh God, no,
or anything near that. Big Marley's just sitting back, like I'm not getting involved in this shit.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to Vettori this week. But I'm cool going. Maybe I'll go higher on Delize, to be honest with you, because I will be hunting for underdogs. So I'd imagine I'll probably get to him more than I would like.
I am on board with that. So I'm glad we hashed it out, Monk, because I want to clarify those things. Because it doesn't, clarify. Like, I like the Delize side. And Delize doesn't do anything that scores well either, except he wins. And then it scores well because he won. Locks up a sub. But, this guy also doesn't throw a lot of strikes. And he doesn't really do things that you would think would lead to big scores. But at his price, I don't know that matters all that much. He just needs to win. And if he can lock up a sub along the way. And I do think Vettori will be shooting. He shouldn't, but he will be shooting for some takedowns. That's where you get the guillotine finish. So I'm okay with that, but I definitely wouldn't want to load up too heavy at that price on Vettori. There's too many other options that are also fine. Speaking of other options, but not anywhere near that price, Casey O'Neill, Jennifer Maia, next up on the card with King Casey. Can I call her Queen Casey O'Neill?
No, show her the respect she deserves and call her King.
Don't want to. You're not going to force me to say pronouns. Queen Casey. Minus 165. Come back on Jennifer Maia. Plus 145. Fight goes to decision. Minus 260. So good chance for a decision fight here. Big Marley, a lot of people down on Queen Casey after she went to split decision against Roxy Modafferi. Is that a reason that we should be down on what looked like one of the exciting prospects coming up until that last fight?
I mean, I guess if you're just trying to compare Roxy to Jennifer Maia, but she still put up great points on DraftKings because her pace was insane. And I don't know, man. I think Maia she's a very well-rounded fighter. She's maybe the better technical boxer of the two. She's got a lot more experience, all those things going for her. But Casey's pace is just unreal, and I don't think Maia can match her pace. So if we're getting judges that are watching O'Neill double or triple her up on strikes, she should win. But I mean, we'd have to trust the judges for that as well on the scorecards. And I don't know, it just feels a little trappy to me, this line, which is kind of telling me maybe it's going to be a split decision type fight and they give it to Maia. But I don't know. I'm really just not too interested in the ceiling from Maia. I think she's in play for a 10X type thing. But O'Neill has put up a big score in all 4 of her wins. And if she has that pace again here, then she's going to score great at 8,500. So O'Neill is my preferred play here. I'm interested in hearing what Monk says about what opponents have done to Jennifer Maia. I don't know how well her opponents have scored, but there's not much to not like DraftKings-wise for Casey O'Neill. She's probably the one I want to be overweight to. You're on mute, Geek.
I just want to point out again here. This is another fighter. We got to understand who she's fought. Casey O'Neill, exciting prospect, put up massive scores against Shayna Dobson, Lara Fritzen, never even heard of her, Antonina Shevchenko, and Roxy. So she has fought the absolute worst of the worst opponents and smashed most of them. Is this an underdog spot? Is this the spot where we need to be thinking about Jennifer Maia, not just at the betting angle, but as an underdog that can win this fight against what might possibly not be, a fighter that's looked amazing against basically trash cans?
I hope not, because I will be 100% owned on Casey O'Neill. She is the fighter I was talking about that is the #1 overall best DraftKings play since 2021. It is Casey O'Neill. She hasn't fought in over 100 days. Still one of the only people on my list to score over 500 DraftKings points. Yeah, her wins aren't great, and I'm sorry, but that split against Roxanne Modafferi is a freaking joke.
It was bullshit.
It's a joke. She landed over 15 strikes a minute on Roxanne Modafferi, and I got people out here telling me that, I thought Roxy looked good at. Stop it. Ridiculous. Jennifer Maia, yeah, she's lost to good names. Who she beat? Jessica I, trash, and Marina Moroz, a possible crackhead if you listen to her old teammate.
Wait, what? I like Marina Moroz. Marina Moroz is good.
Who's am I thinking of the wrong person? I think
Agapova and Moroz beef.
Okay, Agapova is the one that is the crackhead. Never mind. So I take
Agapova
it back.
might actually be a crackhead. She
But
definitely...
yeah, I'm all over Casey O'Neill. I'm not picking Jennifer Maia to win this fight. I think Casey's got her beat everywhere. She's taller, the longer reach. She should be able to piece her up. She should be able to take her down if she feels like it. Maia has a 41% takedown defense, and Casey's decent at submission game as well. She scores 6.2 points a minute, guys. That's #1 on the entire card. 125.5 per win, and she's 175 under her average salary with an average value of 14.5. She's not fighting Caitlin Chukagian. She's not fighting Valentina Shevchenko. She's not fighting Manon Fiorot, the people that Maia have lost to. She's fighting Jennifer Maia. So give me a ton of Casey O'Neill. I think she can win inside the distance. I think she can win, put up good points in a decision, and I will have 100% of her in this fight.
How do Maia's opponents do?
Almost 100 points when she loses. 96 points when she loses.
Okay.
On average.
That's not bad at all.
And you're paying up for Maia. You have to pay 360 over her salary to get to her, where you get to save money on Casey O'Neill. So I'm literally going to start every single lineup with Muhammad Makayev and Casey O'Neill and go from there.
Listen, I don't want to burst the bubble.
100%.
Maia is live to win this fight.
Sure.
She's live to win the fight. She is. She's fought and beaten real opponents.
Again, this is a game of thrones. So I mean, yeah, Moroz could be a real opponent, but her win before that was Jessica I.
Just because
I'm not
that bad.
No, stop it.
She's not that bad.
She's terrible. 15 and 11 overall.
I think she was a champion in Invicta or something.
She also has the cringiest moment in UFC history, and Henry Cejudo exists. So yeah, I don't put any stock into Jessica I wins at all. Not even 1%.
Evil.
Yeah. That makes my head hurt.
So when I say evil, you say I evil.
Yeah, and then it's just
crickets.
And then she says it again and again.
Crickets. Oh man. Anyway, listen, I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I like Queen Casey as much as the next guy. I love the volume, the take.
I don't think
everything.
You do.
I love the
I am
energy.
the next guy, and I love her
there
more
you go.
than anyone.
I love it. But I'm just saying, I don't count Maia out to win the fight. She's got better wins against much better opponents. She's hung in there against champions.
You got to build these prospects somehow. You can't just keep giving them philos like Makayev. You got to keep taking steps up, and Maia is the next logical step.
This is a step up, so the odds are close. But yeah, Casey has scored very, very well, and is a volume lunatic when she's fighting a turd. So let's see when she's fighting a real fighter if she can keep that up. You know, JP Bays looked like a scoring machine until he got to the UFC also.
JP Bays.
This
is just disrespectful. You're just comparing JP Bays to Casey O'Neill.
I mean, he looked like a killer.
Card.
Yeah, and
disrespectful.
All right, next up, Gunnar Nelson taking on Bam Bam Barberena. Gunnar is -350. The comeback on Barberena +290. Fight ends inside a distance, a solid -175. You know, these guys have been around forever, Big Marley. How's this fight go down?
I would say that it most likely goes down with Nelson spending a lot of time on Barberina's back or just on the ground and grinding his way out a decision or possibly locking up a submission. But on the feet, man, I can't lay like -400 on a guy that I don't even know he wins the striking battles. I mean, on the feet, he's not doing anything. He's just bouncing back and forth with his karate style, not throwing any volume at all. So we need him going for those takedowns early so he can rack up the control time and those ground strikes throughout the course of the fight. And then it's more so the submission. It's the win bonus that we're really hunting for. We need it to be in the first round, because if he spends half of the first round on his feet, gets one takedown, and then goes and finishes in the second round, he's probably not scoring enough points. Same thing for the third round.
I could totally see Gunnar not even landing a strike, and like them just kind of staring at each other for the first 60 seconds. Like the bonus is gone, no action has happened.
I don't think Barberina will let that happen. Barberina is an active striker, and that's where he's gonna have to strike. The striker has to strike if he wants to win. So I think that Barberina is live to win a striking battle or a knockout. I think he's in play for the knockout. We saw Gunnar Nelson get knocked out by Ponzinibbio. I think Barberina could land something big also. So I would rather just take my chances on the underdog at 7K, maybe throw Barberina in there if I'm not using like a Makwan or a Dolidze, something like that. I think he's in play because I like the fighters around Nelson more than I like him. I think he could go out there and have like a 105-point ceiling, but I'd rather target somebody who has a 130-point ceiling instead. So I probably fade Nelson personally, and then Barberina is a guy that I'm okay getting 10-15% of just because he's cheap. And if he can go 3 rounds, maybe he can still put up 30 points in a loss. So I think he's okay for cash as well. But give me Nelson to probably get a submission at some point.
Monk, can he score enough to make him worth even rostering if it goes past that 60-second mark?
I say no. I'm not going to probably be getting to any Gunnar Nelson this week. I'm way bigger on the dog. I like Barberina for a KO potential here. I like him in a striking battle, just like Marley said, but I will be higher than 15% on him. I'll have a lot of Dolidze. I'll have some Gordon maybe, but Barberina at 7K is really going to allow me to get to Makayev as much as I want him to. When he wins, he puts up 101 points. When he loses, he allows 110, 111 over his last 2 losses, does Barberina. In his career, it's 103.5. So, but that said, Nelson averaging far under 100 points per win. I just don't think he can get it done. Like I said, he rode Takashi Sato's back for almost all of that fight, and he never locked in a submission. It was just an awful thing to watch, really. I mean, he was dominant, yeah. He scored, 96 points at 9,200. That is literally, I'd rather you lose the fight or score 120, but 96 is just like, what did I roster you for? You know what I mean? So maybe in cash, that's a fine strategy, but I'm going to be on Barberina here. Unfortunately, he is coming in on short notice, which I hate, but it is what it is. He's very cheap. He can score well. Gunnar can be finished. I know it's rare, but give me the Barberina upside here at such a cheap salary.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I think Gunnar is going to have a hard time just with his lack of activity. He's not even a lots of takedowns guy. So unless he gets that fast finish, and by the way, at 9,200, he could take you down, submit you a minute and 1 second into round 1, and that's a 97. He does not throw strikes. So it's dangerous when Gunnar is priced this high. I don't generally recall him coming in this. Oh, all the salaries are zeroed out. So it's been a very long time. I can't even look at his former salary.
He came in at, oh, this is not right. Never mind.
Yeah.
He came in at 92 against Sato in his last one, and 89 was his next highest against Ponzinibbio.
Why did this fight not show up on the DraftKings screen here? Did you see
it? It was
that?
just so long ago. It's 2019.
No, it is in there, but it's just that one, and then it was forever before that. And yeah, 3 takedowns. This is like a great Gunnar Nelson fight, and even with all that, he didn't quite get there. If this had finished in round 3, though, add on another 15-ish points.
And then it's still it depends on what he did, what the people did around him. It's still not a ton of points.
Yeah, but I mean, this is exactly the kind of fight you would sort of expect to see. If he does finish this round 2 or 3, I think it does go over 100. I think he's in consideration. But they're
like, so here's what I would say. Like, people they'll send me their lineups in Discord, be like, what do you think? There, say take Nelson out. I don't like him. But at the same time, I won't have any personally type thing.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm sure I'll have some exposure to him. I don't think I'm going to go 0 here. But I definitely agree with what you guys are saying in terms of, like, there aren't that many paths at 9,200 for him to be the right play, especially with Marty on the card. Are we forgetting what's going on here? Like, we're 2 fights away from the main event. I thought that's who you were talking about, Monk. Like, a prolific DraftKings scorer that you always play when he's on the card. That's Usman.
Yeah, that's one of them. Too.
Yeah, we don't not play Usman. He will have. So anyway, we'll get to him. Let's go second to last here. People's main event for sure. I love Justin Gaethje. I love watching him fight. Tough, awesome dude. Plus 185. You get him underdog here against Fiziev. Fiziev coming in at minus 225 in this fight. Striking battle. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 160. There's going to be some heavy volume numbers here. Big Marley, how do you see it going down?
Yeah, this is an awesome striking match between the most technical striker in the division with Fiziev and the most exciting fighter ever, maybe, in Gaethje. Gaethje's just allergic to boring fights. He's just a volume machine. He's going to go out there and try and put it to Fiziev, or he's going to have Fiziev put it to him. And I do think that this could be a fight that we see Gaethje mix in the wrestling. He has a wrestling background. I feel like a lot of his matches, he's been the better striker of the two. But in this one, I don't think even he thinks he's the more technical striker of this one. It's just that he's more of the wild man. He could be ahead on volume. He could go out there and get a TKO. All that's great. But everything I saw leading up to this, man, in the countdown and all these embeddeds, it's him and Usman wrestling the entire time. And I feel like that's a great game plan. If you want to mix your wrestling in, this is the fight to do it. So I think that's another thing going for Gaethje. Fiziev, he's just going to be in play for the knockout. He's got to get the knockout, and I think that if he wins, he's got a good chance at getting it because Gaethje's hittable. He's cracked in almost every fight that he's in. I think if Fiziev wins, it probably will be a knockout. But Gaethje is my favorite underdog on the card because if he wins, we know he's scoring well over 10x. He's going to score over 90 points at whatever, at like 7,500. So I will be heavy on Gaethje. I probably want Gaethje in half of my lineups. I think he's just more in play than the odds say. So I'm going to be heavy on Gaethje. I'll be more of a hedge play on Fiziev just because I don't want him fucking up all my Gaethje lineups and then me not having the first round knockout at all. So maybe I'll have 15, 20% Fiziev, but I'm like half my lineups are probably going to have Gaethje this week, and he's going to be a big play for me. Give me Gaethje by knockout. Just make this a dirty, ugly fight. Don't let Fiziev get the at-range battle that he wants. And I think Gaethje can win this fight.
I don't know if I'm buying that we're going to see the first takedown attempt of the career for Gaethje in this fight, but I love the breakdown, the underdog status here. He is definitely an exciting fighter and a great underdog. Monk, do you think that Fiziev, like, where does he need to finish this fight to even be worth being in this discussion?
Oh, he needs to finish. He needs to finish the fight is the issue. He's a terrible minute scorer. He scores only 82 points on average over his last 5. Only one of which against Money Moicano was he over 100. He put up 108 in that one. Yeah, I think Fiziev wins the striking battle here. I think he has a chance to be on the optimal lineup if he dispatches of Gaethje like he could. And just starts landing. If Gaethje doesn't wrestle, like, I don't see how he's going to win this fight. And he has never wrestled before, so I don't see how he's going to win this fight. Give me Rafael Fiziev. Probably won't be very high on him on DraftKings. Gaethje, I don't mind getting to. But like I said, like, I just don't see him winning this fight. He does also allow in his past 2 losses 103 points per loss, which I am interested in. But again, I think Fiziev has to finish the fight. In his career, Gaethje's allowing 110 per loss. So maybe he will donate some extra points to Fiziev this week. I don't mind getting to a little bit of Fiziev, but I mean, you already mentioned it. Kamaru is like $100 more expensive. So why would you even roster him at some point? So I'll probably be big fading this fight as a whole. I don't mind a Gaethje play as an underdog, but I really don't think he's going to win here.
Yeah, here's what you need. You need a first round finish, a knockdown, 21 strikes, and it gets you to the 109. So that's what you need out of Fiziev here at this price. He would have to finish it, I think, in the first round. I don't know.
He could get 2-3 knockdowns and get a first round finish though against Gaethje.
That can happen as well.
Score 130.
Yeah, so there will be action, there will be violence, but we have to also remember that Fiziev is that guy that went, 3 rounds with Brad Riddell, 72, 72 decision. Even Diakese, not that good. So these are guys that Gaethje is destroying. And he's winning decisions, not scoring well. So dangerous fighter from a scoring perspective in a win if he doesn't do it fast or if he doesn't get the multiple. Listen, that's live for anybody. Anybody can. This is UFC. They're throwing fist. Anybody can knock their opponent down a couple times in a fight. Unless anybody can do that. But when we're trying to figure out like who we should play heavily, this guy is definitely not somebody that I'm looking to get a lot of exposure to. I am looking, though, like you, Big Marley, to get plenty of exposure to Justin here because Justin wins, and he is always going to be in the nuts in a win. That is just a lock button. So basically, you can give Justin plus 185 odds of being in the nuts lineup on this card because he does not win not in the nuts. Super unlikely. All right, main event time, boys. Usman Edwards part 2. We've seen this one before. Running it back. Marty, once again, minus 250 as a favorite. The fight ends inside the distance, minus 175, which is really interesting because Usman is not super likely to win inside the distance. Let me see. Usman inside the distance here. Plus 350. Edwards inside the distance plus 400. Edwards the underdog, but he's got the high, effectively, if he wins, it's probably going to be inside the distance. So, Big Marley, do you see any change from fight 2 to, I'm not counting fight 1. I don't even know when that happened. From fight 2 to fight 3, what's the difference here? Are we going to see the same fight?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I mean, it's in London. Edwards has that going for him. He's got more confidence now that he's coming off a win. He is the champ. But, I mean, Usman was minus 380 in the first matchup. He looked well over minus 380. He's won 6 of 7 finished rounds in these 2 fights that they've already had. He's landed 11 takedowns in those 2 fights. He's had 23 minutes plus of control time in those 2 fights. He outstruck him on the feet in both matches. I don't know how, like that head kick was within the 20% range of outcomes for Leon Edwards. I just don't know how we're giving him an extra 10% chance of winning now. Maybe just because it's in London, I guess. Like, I don't get it. I think that Usman should still be minus 400 here. Usman is my 100% play of the week. I will start every single lineup with Usman. Rocky will get enough leverage to where I just have no interest in going overweight to it. And I don't want to go underweight in hopes of another knockout either. So I'm just going to completely fade Edwards, and I will get Usman in every lineup that I create. He lost their last fight, and he still outscored Leon Edwards. So give me Usman to go out there and win 5 rounds on the scorecards, put up 140 points, if not more. I think he has the highest ceiling on the card, the most likely high ceiling as well. And I think he should be a bigger favorite than he is. Usman's my favorite bet of the week as well.
At the betting table. So let's go back to that for a second. So are you going Usman straight against the spread minus 250 YOLO?
Yeah, I think there's value there. So I'm cool with that. Or throw him in a parlay.
How about by decision for minus 110?
I'd rather not. I think he can knock out Edwards. I mean, Edwards was damn near knocked out by Nate Diaz, who has no power. Usman has some of the biggest power in the entire division. Did you see the knockout over Masvidal? Like that, he could do that to anybody if he lands that punch. So I think that the hype over Edwards is the better finisher is just all recency bias, because we saw this head kick that was knockout of the year over and over and over again. But before that, he's not head kicking ever. He doesn't have a death touch. I don't understand why people think he's more likely to finish this fight than Usman is. So now I like Usman. Don't even play with it. He could finish this fight on the ground. He could finish this fight on the feet. He could win a decision. Just give me the value that is
going straight up.
The discount that you guys are already giving me by betting Edwards, basically.
Well, don't say you guys. I
not you guys, but whoever's betting Edwards up to this line, I just don't understand it. I mean, Usman was like minus 10,000 when that head kick happened. I don't understand now. Well, shit. Now that we saw that, he's very likely, I think, to get not head kicked again. I don't buy that shit.
Can I let you know something?
Happens.
Can I tell you something about that head kick? That head kick wiped out my Bet Online account.
Oh yeah,
like that was a singular kick that knocked out an entire bankroll for me on one of the books that I was on. Now, in fairness to me, I was trying to get rid of all the money on that book because that one. But
mission accomplished.
It worked out. It worked. It was like I was like so confident. I'm like, let me throw Usman in with all my parlays. I'm just gonna bet it straight. If I like any other fight, throw that on there too. Just get a little more juice. Get a little more juice going. 0.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was already counting the money. I was already like counting out the money, dollar bills, and like fucking just tripled my whole bankroll on one fight. That's how we do it in the VIP. You know, I'm talking shit. And then the kick from hell.
Bang, headshot, dead.
Yeah, that's how it went. I actually take a little bit of the blame for the loss because I counted chickens before they hatched, and now I know never to do that. Big Mar, I had known never to do that before, but I was like so confident in this one that I was like, I'm not worried about it. And then
I didn't even watch. I don't remember why I wasn't watching that pay-per-view. I don't know. I must have been doing something else. But people that like follow my bets, my phone just blew up when it happened. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, fuck. And I'm like, no, are you serious?
You think Leon called into like Tapology and uploaded this picture for his main picture because it changed? He's like, I want to be known for that forever. Just use that.
You will be.
Yeah. Monk, I mean, do you you got to say Usman, you're talking about these other fighters as the greatest scores. Where is Usman on that list?
Well, he's not on that top 8 list. He's only made the optimal lineup once out of his past 4 fights. But that said, he's been at an extremely high salary, 8,900, 9K, 9.4, 9.3. When I said I would start every lineup with O'Neal and Makayev, Usman is going to be the third. There's 3 autos. I said this on my show at the beginning of the week. There's 3 autos this week. I think it's Makayev, I think it's O'Neal, and I think it's Kamaru Usman. 4.42 points a minute, 119 per win is what this dude is averaging, and we get him at a discount. He's 240 under his average. He's 8,900. That's cheaper than every salary, or the same as every salary I just read to you. His strength of schedule is phenomenal. He would have scored. Yeah, he scored 98 points in the loss to Leon.
30, if
he gets the win, he's over 130. Which is the most points he would have scored since Masvidal.
Yeah, well, I'd like to add in, like, your points or your stats go back to like 2021, right? So before that, you said his last 4 fights, he's only made the optimal once, but before that, we got a 156, a 130, a 168, a 195. So Usman, I believe, is the best DraftKings score we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's just that sample size is a little light. Yeah, you expand that out a little bit, and I mean, and it goes back to the beginning of his career. He's been doing it, including against Leon, the 1 win, including against the second almost win against Leon. So,
yeah, but I'm agreeing with you. Some of those wins, you go back far enough. I mean, You're gonna have to give me Casey O'Neill if you're gonna start giving me some of these like Yakovlev and Hassan wins. Like I'm not counting those.
Strickland
That
was a good
said,
win.
I'm extremely impressed with Kamaru Usman's DraftKings upside. It's always, I mean, him versus Colby as a stat guy was some of the funnest shows I ever did. I mean, the numbers are just jumping off the page everywhere you look. It's just like, oh my God, this is insane. That said, Usman's numbers are jumping off the page. Leon's are doing the opposite. I'm not interested in Leon Edwards at all, even though he's made the optimal lineup 2 out of his past 3 fights, which is crazy to me. But yeah, here we are. So give me Usman by a big win. I mean,
Marty,
like I said, I think he's an auto this week. He is one of the consistently better DraftKings scorers of all time. So give me Usman here, and it should be pretty. I mean, if one of those 3 loses, Makayev, O'Neill, or Usman, I'll probably not be having a good night. But yeah, I'm just going to round robin my way through the rest of the lineup and just interchange with those 3 other fighters.
Just keeping it real. The other thing is it's going to be tricky. So when you start your lineup with that trio, and I'm going to throw Homan in the lineup.
Throw Delidze in there, and then
I'm going to throw. I said I'm going to throw Homan in there for you.
Monk this week.
Yeah, I mean, like you got
you're about to build my optimal lineup, right?
Yeah, hold on. Let's see what you're playing here. So Casey, you got to throw the leads in there. 7,900 left. Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Look at all that leftover salary.
Yeah,
look at it.
This is okay. Play a little Dusko.
No, yeah, I mean, you could.
Luana, Jai. I mean, there are. Who am I playing?
Play them all, yeah. If that's what all your lineups are going to look like, then you get all those.
Throw Barberena in there, and then imagine the possibilities.
No, then Barberena, you get your extra stud. That's how you get your next stud in there. But like Gage, okay, Justin, all right, now you can
see. I mean, you got something going.
A little bit. There you
got
go.
A stew going now.
I literally just built your lineup for you. Finish it out with either Ludovic, Duncan, one of the Duncan brothers, one of the Chris Duncans. We're looking okay. I'd like to get to Duncan, but yeah, I mean, it can be done. It doesn't look that horrible when you start with that trio, but you are going to need 2 cheapies to sort of fill it out. But yeah, I like it. I like all of it. I think it's very much in play. Just on the main event, I love Marty Usman. He is my guy. I like I said, I bet my house on him the last time, but I had bet my house on him the previous multiple fights. So in fairness, I just gave back a little bit of the house that I had won. And when I say house, I mean, I don't actually bet my house, people. Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have an issue. So with that being said, I love Usman as well. I do think Leon can knock him out just like he did in the first fight. But and the ass will be puckered on most of the striking exchanges because that when Usman has him in his grip, he is in no danger. The only danger is ever going on in the start of the round before Usman takes him down. And we did see that Leon is not that great at getting up once he's been taken down by Kamaru Usman. I don't know if he can get up for other people, but against Usman, he was not that good and at getting back up. He could do it, but it took a while. So love it. Love it. I will be loaded up on Kamaru. I'll take that 98 in a loss. You get me a 98 and a loss for this price. That's the beauty of the situation is he's under 9K. He wins. He's in the nuts. Lock it in. All right. Kill shot time. This is our underdog that is going to help you win the DraftKings tournament this week. Big Marley, who you got?
Newcomer Gabriel Santos.
Okay. Gabriel Santos. Bold. I like that. Monk, where are you going on your kill shot for this week?
I'm going my guy, Delidze here.
Homan. Okay. As crazy as it sounds, I'm going Luana Carolina as my underdog play. Jojo, like her, but I think Luana is just as good. Kind of similar fighter. 7,600. I'm going to take my chances with Luana. So there you have it. That is your UFC 286 Usman Edwards breakdown for Monk, for Marley, for myself. Good luck this week. We'll see you guys at the top of the lineups. If you want to join us in DFS Army in the Discord, get in on the conversation. We're talking MMA all throughout the week. Of course, you got to be signed up for DFS Army. Join our Discord. Sign up as a VIP. Sign up for the MMA only sub if you're an MMA person. We love to have you in there. We want to talk fights with you. I'm in there. Everybody's in there talking the fights. And we have guys in our Discord, quite honestly, that are sharper than, they're just as sharp as anybody. I take their opinions as much as Marley's or Monk's or anybody else. It's a really, really sharp group. I love listening to them, and it helps my game. So with that being said, reminder, if you play on underdog, that JoJo over on strikes, Prize Picks now has lifted that number to match underdogs. Fuckers, but if you listen to me, you got in on that 2 days ago, saved 8 strikes from where it's at now. That's how we do it. You got to be in the VIP to get the info on time. So do that. We will see you guys next time, another breakdown. And we will see you at the top of the leaderboards. Take care, everyone.